Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to Stormgate Central. Today we actually have another video looking at ZeroSpace, and in this one we're going to be taking a look at the third and final faction for the game, the Grell. Apologies if you guys are waiting on Stormgate content, there really isn't much going on with the game at the moment, so that's why you aren't seeing any content, but I'm sure you guys just let me know you're interested in ZeroSpace. So let's take a look at this interesting faction here. Right off the bat, you'll probably notice that it looks kind of Zergy, only instead of creep, we have this growth here, which is actually called biomass. So the building mechanic with this particular faction differs somewhat from the other two. Instead of getting a laborer or a worker that builds the buildings, you actually get these little seedlings here. And these spawn around your main building here and also around all of your expansions. So with the seedlings, you can construct buildings. So first of all, we have the root colony, which will allow you to expand. And then we've got the Nourishing Pod. Now, the Nourishing Pod is your supply building. Additionally, we've also got the Cultivator. So these are basically creep tumors. And you don't need to worry about your seedlings. As you can see, there's another one spawned. They do automatically replenish themselves. Now, something that is different about this particular supply building, as opposed to the other two factions, is that this one will actually heal your units. So you can see there it has 100 energy at a maximum. If you run back, it's kind of like a shield battery for the Protoss. If you've played StarCraft before, you run back on your biomass and you get healed by this thing. Additionally, your biomass will also heal your unit. So again, it's sort of like the creep there for the Zerg race. So now that our cultivators have finished constructing, you can see not only has our biomass expanded somewhat here, but we now have vision as well. And obviously this is going to be absolutely key with this particular faction for defense and for expanding your map control. So let's go ahead and build our first production building here. There are three production buildings: the Incubator, the Medium Incubator, and the Large Incubator. So let's go ahead and construct the first one. Oh, you know what? While we're at it, let's get our hero, which for this faction is called it's just called the Grell Hero. They're probably going to give it a better name a little bit later down the line. But it has three abilities here. It's got Deadly Vines, which sort of look like this. So this will slow enemy movement there within the area and also do a little bit of damage to them. And then you've got Deep Burrow, which actually teleports the hero and nearby friendly ground units to a visible location on your biomass, and it can't be interrupted. So it's somewhat similar to the underground transport, which is the top bar ability that, if you guys have watched the videos on the other two factions, they also have a similar ability here. It basically allows you to like recall your army out of there. And then finally we have Consume. Consume 250 health from a friendly unit, healing the hero for the same amount and granting a 20% movement speed boost for 10 seconds, or it can be cast on yourself, affecting nearby friendly units instead. So kind of like a mass heal for your troops there, I guess. So this is the Incubator. So we have three units from here: the Stinger, the Harbinger, and the Reaver, which requires an upgrade building. I'm going to build all three of these, and then we'll take a look at each and every one of them individually. Alright, here is our first unit here. These are called Stingers, and you actually build two of these at a time. And as you can tell, they are very, very fast here. So you can think of these almost as Zerglings. They are melee units, so they don't do an insane amount of damage. They do have light armor, I believe. Yeah, they've got light armor. So, you know, these guys are your starter units. You're going to want to build these to go alongside your hero and maybe take controls from towers in the middle of the map there. Alright, here is our second unit. This is called the Harbinger. And this is a much more tanky unit than the little Stingers here. So you've got heavy armor, and it's got a ranged attack that attacks both ground and air. Kind of reminds me of the Roach there. And we've also got an ability called Eruption. This deals 120 damage to units in the target area after 1.5 seconds. So sort of like a Ravager ability. So there you go. It sort of summons this little pod, and then poof, it does some damage there. And this actually goes really nice in tandem with the third unit from this particular building here, which is called the Reaver. So this is a spellcaster, and it has Ensnare. You guys probably know what Ensnare does. Yep, it slows enemy movement speed. We've also got Nourishing Infusement here. Sorry, Infusion. Heals the target for 200, and then another 200 health over 1 second, and it doesn't stack. So, for example, the Harbingers here have 300 HP. So this infusion is is really, really powerful. One thing to note about this faction is, as far as I can tell, you'll notice they're not regenerating any energy. And the only way that this faction gain energy is actually by attacking enemy units. So you can't just sort of stay on your biomass here and gain your energy back. You are going to have to engage in fights to get that energy back there. If we go take a look at the upgrade building down here, for the stingers, we have Poison Sting. So attack steal 4 DPS and slow movement speed by 20% for 5 seconds. So really, really nice for taking on some lightly armored ranged enemies. Or you can go with Raptor on biomass, gain stealth and 50% attack speed. And then secondly, after that, you can get either Acid Rupture or Cliff Jumping. So Acid Rupture, when killed, spray nearby enemies with acid, and that will deal 20 damage and targets take plus 30% damage for 3 seconds. Or you can get Cliff Jumping, which makes the Grellings can jump up and down normal cliffs. I think it's Stingers. Like, I think they must have changed the name, but they're talking about this unit. They can jump up and down normal cliffs, and they get plus 20% movement speed. So some really interesting, meaningful upgrades there for the Stingers. For the Harbinger, you can go with 15% damage mitigation or Shredding Eruption. Affected units take 20% additional damage for 8 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times. And then you've got Rapid Regeneration. 2% of health regenerated each second, which is basically the same amount, I believe, as when you're on the biomass. No, I think biomass is 2 health per second, not 2%. Or you can get Wide Eruption, increases the radius of the eruption ability there by 50%. And then finally, for the Weaver, you can increase the heal amount and casting range of Nourishing Infusion by 50%, or go for 40% larger ensnare radius. And then you have heal nearby units for 25% of the primary target heal, or faster ensnare, a minus 50% delay between ensnare being casted and taking effect. So I really do like the upgrades in this game. You know, there don't seem to be any upgrades like +1 damage, +1 defense that are, you know, I wouldn't say meaningless, but let's say not that exciting. They're always affecting the abilities of the units here. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the next production building, the Medium Incubator. And here we have 2 units, the Lasher and the Skrelling. So this is the Lasher.
Unit production complete.
It's a pretty simple unit, actually. That's what its attack looks like. Air and ground. Although it does have one very interesting ability, Camouflage. So stealth and 20% movement speed for 10 seconds. And if stealth is broken, the movement speed bonus will persist. So you hit Q, and you've got a little mini bug-like Dark Templar. Oh, look at that. The computer's building buildings close to us. Of course, as soon as you start attacking, you do break the stealth mode here, but you can see the potential of this unit, right? You can get far deep into the enemy base, snipe off a building, and then get back out of there. Then we have the Skrelling, which is sort of like an aerial harassment unit here. This one doesn't have any abilities, and the attack is pretty close range, so you have to be, yeah, as far as I can tell, you have to be directly above the unit to actually attack it. But it's very similar in terms of movement to like a Mutalisk, I would say. So definitely a unit, another harassment unit that you can get in and out with. If we go and take a look at the upgrades once again, for the Lasher, we've got 20% more attack range, increase the Lasher movement speed by 30%. Then we've got Corrosive Shots, plus 30% damage against heavy targets, or Extended Camouflage, plus 100% camouflage duration. And then for the Skrelling, you've got a very interesting ability here, Suicide. Suicide itself on enemy air units, dealing 200 damage. So that actually turns the Skrelling into the Scourge. Or you can go with 30% health, and then finally 30% movement speed, or Volatile Acids, when killed, deal 40 damage to enemy units nearby. Okay, last but not least here, we have the third and final production building, the Large Incubator. And here we've got Reavers, Threshers, and the Behemoth. Alright, here comes our first unit out of the Large Incubator. So this is the Reaver, and it reminds me a little bit of an Ultralisk. It's got these 2 massive claws on the front there, massive scythes, I guess, almost. And these are super, super tanky. So 1200 HP, heavy armor. They also have energy because they do have an ability, so they have a charge ability. Does have a little bit of a wind-up time. And this one does, I believe, 80 damage and does knockback as well. And This guy's attack has a cleave, so it does 55 damage times 2, and the splash is 50% of that damage over a 60 radius. I'm not sure what the 60 number actually indicates there. It's certainly not meters, so yeah, who knows, but it's got a little bit of splash there. Then we got the Thresher. Now the Thresher is the siege unit, and look at this. The computer is getting way too ballsy here. Let's go set him up in siege mode on the cliff. And there we go. You do have a minimum range, so if you get too close, you won't be able to attack. There is also no attack for this unit without being in siege mode, so unlike the strikers for the Protectorate that I showed you guys in the video a couple of days ago, this guy can't attack unless he's in siege mode. Okay, last but not least here, we have the Behemoth. So as the computer continues to push across the map, building production buildings in the middle of the map, I think he's going to kill me soon, so I better hurry up this video. This is the last unit here for the Grell, and this is sort of the flying siege unit, if you will. So heavy armor, and it also does 75% more damage versus heavy armor. The range here is pretty good. I'm not sure I want to aggro the computer here. There you go. Doesn't seem to do any splash damage. As these guys jetpack in, as they go and kill my harvester. But we do have an ability here called Fairy Fire. Let's try and cast it on this tank here. Are we going to get the cast off? There we go. So I believe this does damage over time. Yes, indeed. Fairy Fire does damage over time. Unfortunately, we lost the Behemoth there, but that is pretty much all there is to that unit. If we go and take a look at the upgrades, for the Reaver, you have 100% spawn stingers on death. Oh, so one thing I forgot to mention is when the Reavers die, they do spawn 3 stingers, and if you get this upgrade here, you get 6 instead of 3, or you can go with 30% health, which is always nice. The Thresher can get crackling energy. Projectiles create a burning effect on the ground that will do area damage over time, or you can get 50% faster siege and unsiege. And then finally for the Behemoth, you have 100% Fairy Fire duration, so that's the ability I just showed you guys, or plus 30% casting range, which I can certainly see being helpful because I almost couldn't cast it on that tank there without getting dangerously close. Okay, so finally here I want to show you guys the top bar. So first of all, we have underground transport. This works similar to the other teleport abilities for the other 2 factions. So you just select your units here, click where you want them to go, and this cool looking worm thingy comes up that looks like it's straight out of Dune and swallows up your troops and transport them. We've also got Infusion, which is a very interesting ability. So you can cast this on any unit, and it makes a unit stronger. So it doubles its vitality, which I believe is your health. It actually says health down here, but I'm assuming that's what it means. Also your attack speed, cooldown rate, and supply cost. Units are healed for 50% over 10 seconds, and seedlings, that's your building worker, will be faster and fly. And the cost is based on the unit here. So if you use this ability on a big unit like a Behemoth, it's going to use much more energy or top bar energy than it will for like a seedling. So this is actually a common scouting strategy at the start of the game. You can use this on a seedling, and as you can see, it sort of goes into a little cocoon here, and when it morphs out of there, boom, now you have a flying scout that you can use instead. Alternatively, if you use it on a big boy like this, you get a much bigger cocoon, of course.
Enemy in range.
And now we have an absolutely massive Behemoth. So whenever you see a sort of genetically modified unit like this, you know it's been infused. So let's take a look at the actual talents we can get here. So first of all, we've got 10% movement speed for your units. That's probably a super good one to have as your first pick. Also 100% cultivator vision. So that is the little building here, like the creep tumor down there. 100% more vision for that, and biomass generation range. So that's going to allow you to extend your biomass so much faster. Or you can get pillage. Destroying enemy harvesters and buildings provides resources. 33% of the cost of the unit, I assume there. Then you've got Improved Infusion. Ranged infused units gain 300 attack range, or melee infused units gain an additional 25% health. Or Bio-Nourishment, 50% Nourishing Pods healing and 100% Biomass healing, 4 HP per second. So that means whilst your units are on the Biomass, instead of healing for 2 HP per second, it's going to be 4 HP per second. Then you've got Pillage More Mercs. I'm not going to read all of these because you guys have eyes. If you want to read them all, by all means, go ahead and do that. Let's just pick the first 4 here, because the bottom 2 are actually your ultimate abilities that you can see on the right of the top bar here. And we're going to go and take Flowers. So Flowers deal damage to enemies and spawn hallucinations of friendly units. Enemy structures are stunned, and it's a 20-second duration here. Or you can take the Tree of Life, which will heal all of your friendly units, reviving recently killed units nearby. That also sounds incredibly powerful, but for this one, let's try out Flowers. So it basically makes a small area, and hallucinations just start to pop up out of everywhere. So, very interesting mechanic here. Can kind of fool you into believing that the enemy army is way bigger and more scary than it actually is. That is also a lot of hallucinations. Like, I would say maybe 75, 2/3, 75% of this army are purely hallucinations here. So, that's kind of cool. Tree of Life. I can't show you guys that because we have to go all the way down the bar here. You can get that ability as well if the game goes on long enough. If you get another 5 talent points, you can go and get the Tree of Life. But, yeah. That is the Grell Faction, guys. By all means, comment down below and let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if you want to see more ZeroSpace content as well as Stormgate. I will be bringing more Stormgate content to you guys as soon as there's something interesting to talk about, so stay tuned to the channel, leave a like if you enjoyed the video down below, and of course subscribe. Hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.